Hello, ladies and gentlemen, this is Chris Gantes from the College of Professional Journalism. As you will have noticed from the title of this episode, today's subject is bullying. Bullying involves all kinds of hitting, stealing, blackmailing, sexual attacks and harassment. It is not only a problem on the streets of disreputable neighborhoods, but it also happens in schools. Bullying has always existed, but there has been apparent enormous increase in the recent years. In order to understand this problem and its causes further, we spoke with the headmaster of Dúka's College, Mr. Αντώνη Ψύρη. Dúka's College is a school which never had bullying problems. The school prided itself on teachers who inspired their students and instilled them with feelings of self-respect as well as respect for society generally. We also spoke with a child psychologist, Mr. Στέφανο Αλεβίζο, from an organization called The Smile of the Child, which concerns itself with the battered and missing children. My first question is why some children turn to such behaviors.
The phenomenon of bullying is a phenomenon that, in my opinion, does not only concern the child and the family. It also regards the society. A main factor that leads to bullying is that there is not appropriate information and awareness by young people and their families about this subject. It is also a matter of our times. Violence appears in a lot of ways. Sometimes media cultivates violence, which can easily affect young people's lives. Another factor is family. The problems that a family has and family violence can contribute to the development of violence. And finally, the fact that sometimes schools emphasize educational success. We have found that in many situations, a school presses its students too much with the result that sometimes some of them turn to violent behavior, thus reflecting their general desire to escape from the suffocating environment they feel they are in. I believe that bullying is a complex social phenomenon that reflects our times and our society. It shows that we definitely have to do something about it. Look, bullying in children's lives is something which increases gradually. Some children, because of their family environment or experiences, or because maybe they were victims also, or perhaps because they have some disorder, some dysfunction, some missing control over their impulses, or an inability of observe rules and limits. All these things might cause this kind of attitude.
Bullying causes serious damage. There is always a victimizer and a victim. A starting point in unraveling this problem is to build a profile for each of these. What sort of character is someone victimizes another human being? What sort of person is a target for bullies?
Why do we use the word victim? That we have is a situation, a child who frightens and a child who is frightened. Very often the same child who has once frightened becomes the one who frightens the others. The child who bullies needs support and help as well as the child who is frightened. He probably has lived in violent environment in his family and many times recognizes violence as a medium of communication. They also have lack of self-control, over self-estimation, and total lack of understanding. He cannot understand the feelings of the other child who is frightened. The important thing is that as the child moves through school levels, he tends to attract less. By high school years, these situations decrease. Nevertheless, there are some children that may not bully others, but they support the behavior of those who bully. The one who is frightened is quite different from the average picture of students in school. He differs in religion, nationality, weight and height. His sentimental weaknesses. According to a research of our organization, he has sentimental vulnerability and generally he has weaknesses towards the one who bullies. There was recently some very important research. Students, boys and girls, when they talk about bullying, know very well what they say. They don't speak about an isolated situation or about a simple or random fight. This research showed that 1 in 3 children in Greece had suffered bullying. Situations inside school that they had bullying him physically, sentimentally, or verbally. In Greece, bullying is verbal, such as nickname and teasing, and also physical. Another reason for a child to be bullied nowadays is his nationality. Children bully based on nationality, they can frighten another child. The victimizers usually are popular students. These students have the need and desire for power. I believe that these students have not lived with family warmth, so this is also a factor that affects them and drives them to such behaviors. Another type of victimizer is person who has been a victim. The victim is usually someone who may have some special features that can encourage the victimizers. For example, the victim can have bodily abnormalities. Usually, there are lonely people with very low self-esteem.
Another important issue is whether children who were victims of bullying can get over it or whether the damage remains in their soul.
Another research of the organization The Smile of the Child shows that the children who had been frightened have depression symptoms in their adult life. Every kind of violence scars us forever. This thing exists, it's here. Now the point is for this thing to become part of our history and not of our nightmare. The children to accept that this happened to them and with this to go forward. The point isn't to forget, the point is to adopt this. This has to do with the personal work of each other and mainly of his environment. If the school or his family asks for assistance, I believe that bullying is something that will not harm the child's soul if there is the appropriate treatment from the school and the family. So yes, I'm optimistic that kids can overcome bullying and realize that it was not an experience that had marked them for the rest of their lives.
In cases of bullying, there are often observers who support the victimizer. They may believe that they are not part of this dangerous game, they may not want or intend to get involved, but by ignoring or hiding the problem, they actually become part of it. They allow the bully to get away with the endangering behavior and continue it.
The element that distinguishes the observers from the eyewitnesses is the element of detachment. The I don't want to get involved, I don't want to be the one called a tattletale is another problem. We have to convince children that reporting a bullying incident is not a betrayal, as children believe, but rather a good deed. Children who are observers usually have this feature. They don't want to take any kind of responsibility, they don't want to be part of the fight, and this makes them feel that their participation will not be essential. But the truth is that observers have a very essential role. What observers of bullying usually do, they can divide in 3 categories. Those who do nothing, those who support the one who bullies, and those who try to protect the victim. One research in Pennsylvania showed that the 95% of those who had supported the one who was frightened turned to those who were supporting the bully. Usually kids that observe this phenomena laugh, smile, they do nothing, they just don't care. There are all attitudes that support the behaviors of the one who frightens and isolates the frightened child. One of the main goals of the one who frightens is the promotion of these feelings in observers.
Bullying for the victim is always a taboo issue, and only very rarely he will talk to the parent about this. Let's see now some signs which may help a parent to understand whether his child is a victim of bullying.
Any change in the behavior of a child, fear to go to school, destroyed clothes, whatever sudden, inexplicable change in the behavior of the child, his mood, his sleep, his appetite, his school performance, his school attendance, his view about some persons, all these sudden, inexplicable reasons should alert parents. There are some signs that parents can notice that their child is a victim of bullying. First of all, there are signs when the child refuses to go to school or skips school when it's not justified. Sometimes the child has dropped in school achievement, maybe has become indifferent to lessons. There are some signs that if a parent notices them, the parent should refer to an expert or even to the school, but most of all to talk to the child and have good communication about the matter.
What is the most extreme bullying incident that you have seen, and how have you faced it?
You know, in Greece, people believe that bullying has to do with USA, Canada, countries outside Greece. In Greece, we believe that the neighborhood, the family, are able to protect the child from bullying. It isn't exactly like this. There are many extreme situations. We were recently informed about an incident in the 6th of elementary school where a boy had been sexually assaulted by 4 of his classmates. One 14-year-old girl in Thessaloniki was also sexually assaulted. One guy went to school with gun and shot and killed many staff members of the school. One man from Rhodes was transferred by helicopter to the hospital of the island with broken legs and arms. These are extreme situations which need immediate and effective interventions in terms of school, family, and society.
Let's see now what a school must do when a bullying case arises.
Schools have to talk about this. They must not be silent and hide their child's bullying. It's not a taboo issue. It's an issue that, since it exists, we cannot close our eyes to, we cannot turn a blind eye. The first thing we have to do is to publicize it and not hide it. The second is to make immediate communication with the child and the children that are engaged in the incident and their families. I believe that school has to act like a connecting link between the family and the students in order to help all parts to understand the seriousness of this issue. Of course, this can be managed with appropriate program education interventions that can develop inside the school. The school must develop prevention mechanisms. Many times they tell me from the schools which we cooperate that, Stephanos, we don't have such kind of problems. The reason for an expert to visit a school to make an informative speech, one interactive procedure of prevention, isn't the purpose to deal with the problem. The purpose is to prevent the problem. And all schools must create preventing actions. The school rules must be clear, the teachers must be punctual in order to face such situations. And of course, immediate and effective cooperations with parents and expert staff that is able to direct the teachers who may not have aware of the danger and don't know how to deal with it.
The state cannot interfere with families, but it can interfere in the education system by being close to students and help them improve their status in the school environment in order to stop the bullying. This was Chris Gantes from the College of Professional Journalism. Ladies and gentlemen, thanks for your attention. Goodbye.